And next to Japan, where the ruined Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant has been leaking contaminated underground water into the sea more than 2 years after the earthquake and tsunami. Today, officials at Tokyo Electric Power admitted they delayed releasing that information, saying they did not want to worry the public. Meanwhile, the area around the plant remains deserted, but Alex Thompson of Independent Television News got brief and rare access.
Few people ever get into the Fukushima exclusion zone. Nobody gets in without protective equipment and screening. Here's the radio to keep in contact, she's telling us. Monitoring equipment for radioactivity comes next. Then off, out to the final police checkpoint. And we pull in just inside the exclusion zone to suit up. It's becoming a way of life around here. TEPCO, the company that runs the stricken plant, have given us 5 hours in the zone with a radio to keep in contact with us, let us know when our time's up. The regalia in which I'm now standing, including this, a dosimeter, which will give my accumulated radiation dose across the time that we're inside the exclusion zone. We've come here with Anthony Ballard, who used to live in Futaba, the town which houses the giant nuclear plant, as did his friend and fellow English teacher Philip Jellyman. Rubble from the quake stays just where it fell.
You get through.
Fringed now with weeds. The clock on the main street stopped at 2:46, the second the first tremors shattered this region on March the 11th, 2011. The town shrine lurches after the quake. Someone's been back at some point to try and save it with ropes. Good luck messages to the gods for the unluckiest of towns after a quake, a tsunami and radiation.
The students who were at the school on that day have never seen their houses.
Never seen it since
Never
the
seen
disaster.
them. They were evacuated very early on March 12th, and they've never seen the houses since.
Right. Phil, why is that? Why can't the kids come back? What's the reason for that?
It's to do with absorption rates of radiation. Children are more vulnerable to it.
Initially, Philip and Anthony were only allowed back here for an hour a month. Now we have 5, and in that time we'll accumulate about 1 microsievert of radiation for every hour we're here.
0.67.
Our contamination advisor says that's a safe amount for a few hours, but living here would vastly increase the likelihood of cancers. Returning to Futaba stirs painful memories of a life brutally halted.
This is the main street, basically, and just down there on the left is the butcher's shop.
They don't know what became of the butcher or his family. Actually revisiting his house is not comfortable.
Okay, so this is my house here.
But both Englishmen are now on something of a mission for their Japanese friends.
And I like to chronicle the town, I like to record it, and some of the people from Futaba have said keep taking pictures.
In here you see why the authorities offered us rat poison as well as radiation protection equipment. Rat, dog, cat and bird feces all over the place. Animals moved in as people moved out. Nature is taking over here. The empty railway tracks turning green. At the ticket office a polite notice. Sorry we're away, we'll be back here soon. That was 2.5 years ago. Arriving from this platform and indeed departing, absolutely no trains of course for well over 2 years now. This place, this station, like the whole town, weirdly frozen in time, right down to the newspapers on the stand on that fateful day. And outside the station, the unnerving silence of a radioactive town. What do you think, Philip? Do you think you'll ever come back and live here?
In this house? No.
In this town?
In this town? I'm still a young man, I might be able to do it at some point.
Would you like to?
I'd like to. I'd like to stay with the town as long as possible, and if one day they were to come back here, I'd like to come with them.
You have a great attachment, haven't you, to the place and its people? which is why they visit radiation hotspots in the town to gather data.
So the last time I was here, it was a little higher than this actually, and I walked over there and it shot up. So over there should be a hot spot if we walk
So
over
literally
here.
a few yards make a difference then?
A few yards, yeah.
That's
few
extraordinary, right. Okay, well let's go and see what
Okay,
happens.
let's try. So up here we're getting 8,
Yeah.
close to the vegetation. We're getting 16 now. Can you get that, Stuart?
Right, so it's showing 24. Got 24 over here, Richard. 24. So the other dial was showing 24. 24 what?
That'd be microsieverts, which is
What?
the reading. It's nothing life-threatening. So these dosimeters here are programmed to a first alarm at 100 microsieverts, and that's a warning to get out. And if you stood there for an hour, that's the amount of dosage you would receive.
Right, so if you lived here and you what would happen?
You wouldn't want to live here.
But if you did?
Well, there is obviously the chance of cancers developing over time from the exposure to radiation.
It would be dangerous over time, but it's not dangerous for a few minutes.
No, not for a few minutes. No, we're fine for a few minutes.
Even so, I think we'd better maybe move somewhere else.
Indeed.
Yeah? All right.
Yards away, another alarm goes off, 69 microsieverts, the highest reading we'd encounter in our 5 hours here. A mile or so from town, screened off by thick forest and with armed guards, Fukushima Daiichi looms, broken. Over 300,000 tons of contaminated water are already here. Tons more need storing every day as they struggle to keep the reactors cool. The damage to the building's obvious. The plant owners dragged kicking and screaming to tell the truth of what's still going on here.
We stand a few hundred yards up the coast from the stricken plant, and in the past few days the company that runs it's been forced to admit that radioactivity is now leaking into the Pacific. They don't know where it's coming from. Not only that, inspectors in the past few days have found hotspots of radioactive cesium, the levels of which were the highest recorded since the disaster happened more than 2 years ago.
Drive past the slip road to the plant itself and the alarms go off again.
There's a nice beach down there. Here we go.
So we head back through town under the archway of hope, which still reads, "Nuclear power, our bright future."